Oh yes, we finally have a press conference from the President of the United States of America. And I told you, don't you remember I predicted it was going to go pretty well for him? Maybe I was wrong. That's coming up next on I'm Right. There is something you and I have to remember. And this can be difficult to remember for political people like us. Isn't that terrible when we call ourselves political? We like to think we're not, but we are. You're hooked on it. I'm hooked on it. We love it. But we have to remember something. Above all that, we still are citizens of the United States of America. And what does that mean? I'm not making some hammy point. Don't worry about that. But what does that actually mean? It means we are a country. And as a country, as a powerful country, we have enemies around the world. And as we've talked about when it comes to this border surge stuff, as we've talked about extensively, when the President of the United States of America speaks, everyone watches. Everyone watches. I remember reading about the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis when it was Khrushchev versus Kennedy, and how Khrushchev was trying to figure out what we were thinking. And he gathered himself and all of his top guys in the room to do what? Not to take a phone call from John F. Kennedy, to watch a press conference with John F. Kennedy. The world watches when the President of the United States of America speaks. Our friends watch, potential illegal immigrants watch, and our enemies watch. Every single one of them. They're not only watching, history says they take action based on what they see. Not only the answers, how the president looks. They know leadership matters. As I've said 1,000 times, that old saying, it's better to have an army of donkeys led by a lion than an army of lions led by a donkey. Leadership does matter. When Joe Biden steps up to the microphone, when he stepped up to the microphone today, the worst people in the world, people with armies behind them, they were watching. They were judging. They were trying to figure out, what's he going to say? How's he going to say it? Is this somebody I can maybe push around a little bit? Maybe poke this guy in the ribs a couple times, see what he's made of? They're always watching in that way, as predators do. And remember, I told you, I think it was last week, that Joe Biden was going to do a press conference and that I thought he would do fairly well. I figured they'd get him on whatever he was doing for the debates, get him juiced up for a little while, let him get through it, and then go backstage to put another log on the fire and eat another Werther's Original. Yeah, I whiffed on that one. This did not go well. And it's more than just it not going well. It didn't look good. It looked weak and feeble, and it looked embarrassing. It looked embarrassing. And it was so incredibly scripted.
Now I'll be happy to take your questions. Zeke, Associated Press. Okay. How about Yamish? Okay. Hang on. Sorry. Oh, Singman, Miss Kim. Let me get here. Okay. Cecilia Vega. Ken. Okay. Where am I here? Let me see. Caitlin? Justin Sink, Bloomberg.
And then, when it wasn't scripted like that, Biden, who am I? Bill? I'm supposed to call, am I supposed to call on Bill? All right, wait, this one goes to Sarah. And when it wasn't that, it was, it sounds like I'm being mean to an old man, but the truth is we have to acknowledge this is the President of the United States of America. When it wasn't him calling on the people he's been assigned to call on, it was Joe Biden not able to complete the thoughts in his head.
I'm going to say something outrageous. I have never been particularly poor at calculating how to get things done in the United States Senate. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done. And if we have to, if there's complete lockdown and chaos as a consequence of the filibuster, then we'll have to go beyond what I'm talking about. Okay, hang on. Sorry. Oh, Miss Kim.
And then when he wasn't doing that, he did this weird thing, and I'm going to try the best I can not to be an amateur doctor here, but this weird thing where he would randomly yell a little bit and then dial it back down, and it just doesn't look well. He doesn't sound well. It doesn't look or sound presidential in any way. If you were hanging out with your grandpa and your grandpa looked and sounded like this, what would you be saying to your husband, your wife, when you got home that night? Would you be having a private conversation of, maybe we should get grandpa checked out? Maybe we should get grandpa in somewhere. I don't think he looks well. I don't think he sounds well. Well, okay, well, that's your grandpa. Good for you. This is the President of the United States of America.
Something's wrong. Their newfound concern. I'm concerned. Look, I meant what I said when I ran, and a lot of you still think I'm wrong, and I respect that. So I'm running for 3 reasons. To restore the soul, dignity, honor, honesty, transparency to the American political system. 2, to rebuild the backbone of this country, the middle class, hardworking people and people struggling to get in the middle class. They built America, and unions built them.
This is the leader of the free world. This is the man in charge of the most powerful army in the history of the world. We don't have, you and I, we don't have the luxury of being all, oh well, Joe's just a little senile. We don't have that luxury. This job is too important. This is the most important job in the world. Is there a more important job in the world than President of the United States of America? I say there's not. I say this is a really, really, really big deal. And I can't emphasize this enough. Our enemies are watching. And this part, this drove me insane. Think about this. You're a member of the DC press. Now, granted, you know you're a communist hack, but you're a member of the DC press. You've been whining and crying about no press conferences forever. Well, I deserve one. Daddy told me I could do anything I wanted. That kind of thing. You finally get your press conference. This is your moment. Right? You're a journalist. I think you've, I'm assuming, worked fairly hard, at least as hard as journalists work, to get up to this position in life. You finally have your moment to ask a question of the President of the United States of America, who's just now giving his first press conference since taking office. And this is the question you ask?
Have you decided whether you are going to run for re-election in 2024? You haven't set up a re-election campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss him.
Have you?
No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for re-election. That's my expectation.
You also just made some news by saying that you are going to run for re-election.
I said that is my expectation.
So is that a yes, that you are running for re-election?
Look, I don't know where you guys come from, man. I've never been able to travel. I'm a great respecter of fate. I've never been able to plan 3.5 years ahead for certain.
And if you do run, will Vice President Harris be on your ticket?
I would fully expect that to be the case. She's doing a great job. She's a great partner. She's a great partner.
And do you believe you'll be running against former President Trump?
Oh, come on. I don't even think about it. I have no idea. I have no idea whether there'll be a Republican Party. Do you?
Oh, that's embarrassing. We can't have this in this country. This one-party rule of the media is bad. It's really, really bad. You notice none of the right-wing or right-leaning outlets got questions. None of them were asked questions at all. None of them. We can't do this anymore. And so now that you've seen the highlights, lowlights of the Joe Biden presser, and I'll play you some more coming up in a little while. We're going to play you some stuff he had to say about the border and whatnot. I want you to hear this question, and I want you to hear it well. This reporter, credit to her, she stood up and asked a question about Joe Biden, his rhetoric, bringing people to the border. So I'm going to stop. It's a little bit long. Just hang with me for a second. I want you to pay attention to this question. It's exactly what I said it was. What have I been telling you about the rhetoric and why it matters so much? Watch this.
I'd like to circle back to immigration, please. You just listed the reasons that people are coming, talking about in-country problems, saying that it happens every year. You blamed the last administration. Sir, I just got back last night from a reporting trip to the border where I met 9-year-old Josel, who walked here from Honduras by himself, along with another little boy. He had that phone number on him, and we were able to call his family. His mother says that she sent her son to this country because she believes that you are not deporting unaccompanied minors like her son. That's why she sent him alone from Honduras. So, sir, you blame the last administration, but is your messaging in saying that these children are and will be allowed to stay in this country and work their way through this process, encouraging families like Josel's to come?
Well, look. The idea that I'm going to say, which I would never do, that if an unaccompanied child ends up at the border, we're just going to let him starve to death and stay on the other side. No previous administration did that either, except Trump. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Didn't I tell you? When the President of the United States of America gets up at debates and says things like surge the border, oh, we're going to be super nice to kids. And then the surge happens, and you have Jen Psaki up there every single day saying, what do you mean crisis at the border? We're giving everyone health care and medical care and mental health care, and we got school for them. We've even got games for the kids. It's high time for everybody you're sending up here. They're watching. They're down there watching, just like that mother who sent her 9-year-old son north to the border. She's sitting there watching in Honduras and says, honey, pack up your book bag. You're heading north. What our people say matters. And the Democratic Party's open borders rhetoric, how nice we're going to be to all the illegal immigrants. It has a cost. It has a high cost. So, look, I'm going to level with you right now. And I know I'm going to get hate mail because of this. I don't care. I'm going to level with you right now. I'm ready for President Kamala Harris. I know, believe me, I found that as physically painful to say as you found it to listen to. But hear me out here. This is not about, oh, she's worse than Joe Biden. It's not about that. I know she's terrible. That's not an endorsement of President Kamala Harris or Vice President Kamala Harris. At least she is a fully functional adult who can complete sentences. That is important. It can be life or death important. Our enemies watched today. They watched that disaster. What do you think? What do you think Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong, what's his face? What do you think they're thinking when they're sitting back and watching the president? What? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, Caitlin, what do you think they're thinking? They're licking their freaking chops is what they're thinking. We can't do this. I'm ready for President Kamala Harris. I am. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I'm right. Now, tobacco, specifically dipping tobacco. I'm not judging. I dipped 4 years I'm not going to point my finger at you and say it's bad for you. That doesn't help people. That's miserable. But you just roll your eyes after a while when people say that to you when you're dipping. I know, I've been there. What I will say to you is this. There's help if you want to get out of it. No, you don't have to call some hotline. Just go get Jake's Mint Chew. It is tobacco-free, nicotine-free. It's even sugar-free, and it tastes really good. They have 11 different long-cut flavors. They have 4 different flavors of the CBD pouches, which is not only delicious, but because it's CBD pouches, it really takes the edge off, and it's something you can do at work. So if you're dying to go outside and burn a cigarette or have a dip, you can do that right there sitting at your desk. Jake's Mint Chew. You have help. You have help you don't have to feel guilty about. Go get some. Go to jakesmintchew.com. Use the promo code Jesse. That'll get you 20% off. We'll be back. You know what I think about a lot? When I see this modern era, the modern man, very touchy, very feely, very, this is I'm really mad, or this offends me, or this triggers me. You know what I think about a lot? Makes me think about my dad. I know you're probably not going to be shocked by this, but my dad was a bit of a hard man, the kind of guy who told me that he would rip an earring out of my ear if I ever came home with one in. The kind of guy who told me I needed a haircut if my hair ever got longer than about 3 inches. You know, one of those old school types. And when you're a kid, you love your dad, you admire your dad, but I don't think you fully appreciate having a dad like that until you get older. I saw this Ted Cruz thing yesterday with the mask, and I may even play it for you a couple times. You want to know what stood out for me? First of all, you watch it. See if it stands out for you.
Yeah, when I'm talking to the TV camera, I'm not going to wear a mask, and all of us have been immunized. So
It'd make us feel better.
you're welcome to step away if you like. The whole point of a vaccine, CDC guidance, is what we're following.
Did you hear what the reporter said? It makes us feel better. Everything else aside, coronavirus aside, everything else aside, as a dude, I can't speak for women, I ain't one, but as a dude, isn't that embarrassing? When I hear things like that, maybe this is me being programmed as a child. When I hear things like that, I think to myself, oh man, I wonder what my dad would do if I ever said something like that. How utterly embarrassing. Could you put your mask on as the reporter stands 10 feet away? And Cruz, of course, I love Cruz. He's all, no. What if it makes us feel better? You're an adult. Buck up, Buttercup. Gosh, this is so incredibly embarrassing. You know what? It pairs perfectly with these. Have you seen the new hot coronavirus preventative measure out there? That's right. I saw it on CBS yesterday. It's a mask for your nose. On my life, what you're looking at right there, just breathe that in. On my life. That's not a parody. That's not some Saturday Night Live skit or something like that. That is the new hot thing with coronavirus, so you are able to wear one while you eat and drink. If you are in a place in your life, if you're at a place in your life where you feel like you need to go out with your sweetheart and sit down at a restaurant and eat a meal and have a beer, yet you want to still have a mask over your nose, you want to look like that, please just stay home. And I hate to come back to this again. It made me think about my dad again. It made me think about what my dad would do and say to me if he saw me with a mask over my nose like that. God, jeez. We've got to do better than this. West, listen to me, Western society, North America, we've done pretty well. We've done real well for ourselves. We've done real well for our people, freedoms and such like that. The rest of the world can be a really dark place, and they're going to come for us if we continue to show them that we are as soft as Charmin. Now, before we go, I do have to wish you a happy, happy, happy anniversary. Well, I mean, I guess it's not so happy if you're one of the thousands of old people Andrew Cuomo killed with this. Quote, "No resident shall be denied readmission or admission to the NH nursing home solely based on a confirmed or suspected diagnosis of COVID-19. Nursing homes are prohibited from requiring a hospitalized resident who is determined medically stable to be tested for COVID-19 prior to admission or readmission." That's right. You didn't read that wrong. That was the now scrubbed from the website order of Andrew Cuomo telling nursing homes, I don't care if your nursing home is full of vulnerable people. Take this COVID-19 patient and park him right there for bingo night and see how it works out for everybody. And, you know, we make jokes about it, but that was lives lost. Not one or two either. Thousands and thousands of lives lost. People's mothers, people's fathers. They were gone because of Andrew Cuomo. They weren't gone just randomly. They were gone because of Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, who is still very much the governor of the state of New York. And as long as the show's still called I'm Right, who told you at the very beginning of all this disaster with the accusations and the nursing home scandal and the impeachment stuff, who's the one who told you Andrew Cuomo was never going to resign? This guy. All right. Look, that's a lot of bad news. So here's some good news for you. You know you can do something about all this garbage, right? You have the power to do something about what's happening in this country. And you can get some bennies out of it too. It's called Mammoth Nation. And I want to clarify, I'm a lifetime member. That's how much I believe in this. I'm a lifetime member of Mammoth Nation. What it is, you join, you sign up. Where's your money go? Your money goes to candidates running for office with actual backbone who believe what you and I believe. So you get that. Oh, I'm saving America type thing. But you also get discounts. Shopping, travel, telehealth, wireless. You get discounts. A laundry list of them, way more than I could ever name on the show. How about that? Go become a member of Mammoth Nation. Save some money. Maybe save the country while you're doing it. Go to mammothnation.com/Jesse. That's mammothnation.com/Jesse. We'll be back. Well, this moment, I'm sorry, I have to play it again. This moment, here it is.
Outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. Voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do. And it cannot be sustained.
Joining me now to talk about that and other things, former Congressman from Georgia, Bob Barr. He is the current Liberty Guard chairman. Bob, I'm unclear on why we're still doing this over-the-top language about race. This makes Jim Crow. Asking people for an ID when they vote is not exactly the same thing as Jim Crow. I don't know if Joe Biden's aware.
Apparently he's not aware of that, either that or he is, and he wants to keep this narrative of our country being a systemically and increasingly racist society open in order to bolster something. I'm not quite sure what it bolsters, other than it bolsters those individuals who actually truly believe that racism is at the core of America, which it isn't. It never has been, and things have improved dramatically based on laws, the Constitution, and so forth. But I mean, it's you can't explain it because it's an irrational way of speaking and a completely inaccurate characterization of the United States of America.
It is inaccurate, and it seems insane to people like you and I, but what worries me is how pervasive this is. This isn't just some politician running his mouth for a second at a press conference. This is in our military. It's in our churches. It's in our education system. It's all over the media. This way of thinking is ingrained in at least half the population. How did this happen? How did we let this happen?
We let it happen for a couple of reasons, Jesse. First of all, our educational system has failed for 2 generations now to teach young people what America was intended to be, what it is, how it got here, and how we should keep the values that made America what America is. So our schools are not teaching our young people about America, so they don't know what to defend about it. Secondly, politicians now adhere to the philosophy that if you repeat a lie loud enough and often enough, there's a large segment of the population that will start to believe it simply by rote. And thirdly, apparently, there are enough voters out there who respond and donors who respond to this, such as here in Georgia with Stacey Abrams raising millions of dollars based on her claim that the reason she lost the election 2 years ago is because of systemic racism. It's just the big lie that is repeated endlessly.
This Hunter Biden thing, I'm not sure how much you've seen into this, but apparently Hunter Biden had a weapon, shouldn't have had it. The Secret Service tried to cover it up for him. Now, I'm not trying to get the vapors about every issue that's out there. Is the Secret Service kind of doing the wink, wink, nudge, nudge cover for the president and his family? Is this something new, or is this something that's just been around since the president's had personal protection?
It's more the latter. I know a lot of folks in the Secret Service, worked with them when I was in the Congress and when I was the U.S. Attorney in Atlanta. They're great people. But one of the things that is ingrained in the Secret Service, particularly those men and women on the presidential detail, is you protect the president no matter what, even in terms of what he says and his family, and that sometimes that has a tendency to go too far. We certainly want the president and his family protected physically from any kind of threat whatsoever, but that does not mean that the Secret Service should itself become a party to covering up for the president. Yet I saw that to some extent during the Clinton administration, during the impeachment that I was involved in, and I think we're seeing that now, unfortunately.
Obviously, because as you just pointed out, you've done this for quite a while. You've heard plenty of Democrat rhetoric when it comes to guns. I mean, we have a NRA here. Quote, the NRA is the only organization in America that gets blamed for crimes our members don't commit. Obama's talking about gun grabbing. Biden's talking about gun grabbing. Is this just standard Democrat anti-gun rhetoric, or do you take them a bit more seriously now than at other times?
It's both. It's standard Democrat rhetoric to provide or to propose a simplistic solution to a complex problem, that complex problem being, why are we having so many, particularly young men in this country, commit these horrific acts? And yet we see the Democrats over and over again, every time, consistently blame guns because it's easier to do that. There's a natural tendency on the part of all people to search for a simple solution, but if that simple solution doesn't work, you keep mounting and mounting and mounting more gun control, yet you still have young men committing these crimes. Sooner or later, a rational person steps back and says, well, maybe gun control isn't the solution. Apparently, the Democrats have not reached that point yet, unfortunately, so they continue to make it harder and harder for law-abiding citizens to obtain a firearm, rather than going after both the root causes of these crimes, often mental illness and mental disturbances on the part of the individuals, and failing to pay attention to the red flags that almost always have been there.
Setting aside whether it's effective or not and how dumb their plans are, politically, it's always seemed like such a loser for me. I've never been able to make sense of it. No matter what, America is a gun culture. There are, I believe, over 300 million guns, 160 million plus gun owners. This is an issue where they've openly declared to be on the opposite side of the majority of the American people. So I don't understand why they talk about it so much. There's not a huge appetite out there for gun control, or is there?
There is not among the general population. Part of the problem, though, Jesse, is that the way they frame the issue, the way they frame the polling questions, it makes it very easy for people sort of unthinkingly to say, oh, well, of course that's right. For example, if you pose a question to the American public that says, well, shouldn't criminals have to go through a background check first? Well, sure. Not thinking, no, wait a minute. People already have to go through a background check, and that stops criminals, those who have been convicted of crimes, from obtaining firearms. If you, for example, also say, well, why don't we just increase the time for a background check from 3 days to 10? Most people will say, well, that's not really that bad. But if you look at the details of what they're proposing in the legislation that just passed the House, for example, by increasing in the way they are doing or proposing to do that background check period from 3 days to 10, they are making it virtually impossible for an individual to obtain a firearm in anything less than an entire month. And that places a lot of law-abiding citizens who have a real need for a firearm in a very dangerous situation.
Explain to me, are the courts going to be on our side anymore if they try some massive Democrat gun grab, they dump the filibuster, they pass the thing through, which I believe they do want to do? I'm always told now, well, don't worry, the courts will strike it down. You're going to have to pardon me, but I don't have a ton of faith in the courts anymore, not with John Roberts having lost his mind.
Republicans have a tendency, and I saw this when I was in the House, to pass legislation that they know is bad, that they know is unconstitutional, because they say exactly that. Oh, don't worry, the courts will pull our bacon out of the fire. Doesn't always happen, and we should not have to rely on the courts to do that. With the current court, while we have, I think, a couple of new members, Amy Coney Barrett, most importantly, who have a very clear track record of support for and understanding of the Second Amendment, I feel more comfortable than I did previously. But it's still, as Clarence Thomas on the court has said more than once, it is very difficult and dicey to get the court, the high court that is, to take a firearms case, and secondly, to have the backbone to stand up for the Second Amendment. I feel somewhat more comfortable than previously, but it still is not where we should be.
Congressman, thank you so much. That was outstanding, sir.
My pleasure.
Listen, home title theft is not something that just happens to other people. I want you to understand this. This doesn't just happen to some sweet little old lady who clicked the wrong button on her computer. That's not me. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't understand how it works. Your home title, if you own a home, your home title is online. It is. They put them all online now. And it's not in your possession. There's nothing you can do to stop it except for home title lock. What they'll do is they'll hack into it, grab it, forge your signature on it, take it to a lending institution and take a loan out against it. And you have to pay it back. There's nothing you can do to stop them from financially ruining you except for getting home title lock. That's it. That's the only step you can take. Now, that'll stop it. That's what works. That's what I've done. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code RADIO. That'll get you 30 days for free. We'll be back. Well, I'm excited about talking to this guest because he's running to be AG of a state I love, and these people have ruined it. Chuck Smith joins me now. Chuck, thank you for running for AG of Virginia. I love that state. I've always loved it. I think it's the prettiest state in the United States of America.
It is.
And I hate what these people have done to it. Can you save that state for me, please?
Absolutely. We intend to save it at the next election. We're going to get the incumbent out. We're going to put me in, and we're going to do the things that we should have been doing all along.
What happened to Virginia? Most of my childhood, at least, Virginia was like this beacon of freedom, right? And it's not that it's blue now, but it's still, they've elected a couple nutballs. What happened? Is this just the D.C. sprawl spreading in and ruining it for the rest of the place?
Well, I think they've elected 3 nutballs. You got people in office who shouldn't be there. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. They don't believe in the Constitution. They don't believe in the rule of law. They don't believe in Virginians. You know, Virginia, the bastion, not just of conservatism, but the bastion of hope for the country. They don't believe in that. And I think it's time that they get out.
Chuck, I'm sure you had a chance to see it today, but in case you didn't, here's the President of the United States of America from today talking about the border.
Well, look, I guess I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening. That I'm a decent man, or however it's phrased. That, you know, that's why they're coming, because no, Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration. It happens every single solitary year.
Well, it just happens every year, Chuck. There's no border surge. Didn't you hear? This is the same as it was under Trump.
Oh, gosh. I mean, he's a piece of work. Look, nothing he has said prior to the election has he kept his word on. He's changed and changed and changed. This is not about unity. This is about him. This is about the left, the liberal left. Look, he was the one who said, we need to have people come in this country because the people like me, the white people, need to be in the minority. So, look, I don't take any faith in that. I'll tell you that as far as Virginia is concerned, when I'm Attorney General, we will enforce the law here. There will be no sanctuary cities for illegal immigration here. We're going to make sure that people are safe, they're secure, they don't have to worry about being attacked or people driving on the highways when they shouldn't even be driving at all. I think people want security, and you know, quite frankly, I think that's what they're entitled to. I'm going to give them the Constitution and put the Constitution back where it should be.
Explain to me why Democrats want open borders, why they use this rhetoric that invites people to come here, and it does. Because, I mean, I certainly don't want to be naive, and I understand there's just flat out an anti-American element to some of it, but it's still all of our country, everybody. We all have to live here, and no nation in the history of mankind, except for ours, would just throw open its borders for everybody. That's insane, and yet that's their party platform. Why? What am I missing?
Yeah, they seem to think that it helps them politically. They seem to think that the more votes they have, the more political power, the more muscle they have. They've forgotten about this little book called the Constitution, that there's certain ways for people to come to the United States. If they have legitimate asylum fears, then they can come in advance of that. But you just can't take stock here, build a home here, and hope to violate our laws. Look, they're coming from places where situations are not that good. They're not trying to make this place like their place. The object here is to obey the law, follow the rules. And look, if you're violating the rules coming in, then you're going to violate the rules while you're here. Virginians want safe schools. They want safe communities. They want the rule of law. They want law and order. They don't want the chaos that you see. My opinion, the Democrats seem to think that these people coming in, we give them driver's license, we give them the right to vote, and somehow America's going to be great. No, America's going to be great when it gets back to its Constitution. Point and simple.
Chuck, I'm worried about the Department of Justice federally. I'm very worried about it. I'm worried about, honestly, the politicization of all of our federal government, from the FBI to now the United States military. I think this is so incredibly unhealthy. I think even people on the left should be aware of how this ends, and it is not good, and yet it seems to be full steam ahead for the Democrats. What's the average person like me supposed to be able to do about that? Are you, as AG, are the states going to be able to protect people? Because this concerns me a lot.
Well, Virginia's going to protect Virginians. I promise you that. The liberal left tries to weaponize our military against the citizens. They try to weaponize our federal government, Department of Justice, against citizens. At the end of the day, I think what you have is a liberal left that just doesn't want any semblance of what America stands for, has stood for. They've come with this critical race theory. They've come with all these ideas, anything to take America down. That's going to stop. We need to put it into it. And you know, quite frankly, I hear, here in Virginia, we're going to take the Biden administration on. We're going to sue the Biden administration for policies that affect Virginians, either that disenfranchise Virginians or put Virginians in peril. That's not the way it should be. That's not the way it works. Our codes of our states do not trump our Constitution. The Code of Virginia is enforced after we enforce the Virginia Constitution, after we enforce the United States Constitution. That's the way it works. That's the way it was designed.
How are we going to handle censorship in the future of this country? We're at a place where obviously the left controls all the cultural institutions, but that includes the media. It includes many of our major corporations. Sadly, it includes Hollywood. So the federal government doesn't have to pass a law that says you're not allowed to say blank. The private corporations can simply bar you from doing anything that you want to do in life. What's the appropriate constitutional way to cover that? Because I genuinely struggle with this. I don't want the government stepping in, but somebody's got to step in.
Listen, we have one country here. It's called the United States of America. It's not called the United States of Big Tech. We need to hold Big Tech accountable. We need to make sure that if they're violating our laws, the laws of Virginians, that they're held accountable. And here in Virginia, that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't think, listen, I think it ought to be a hate crime for anyone or any organization, Big Tech or anyone else, to strip Americans of either their First Amendment rights or their freedom of speech rights or their freedom of assembly rights under the auspices of trying to maintain law and order, this censorship program that they have designed. I think they should be held accountable. And here in Virginia, I'm going to hold them accountable. Listen, we have many situations where we have applied United States constitutional law, not just to government, but to individuals. For example, you cannot go into a store and say that blacks can't enter that store, or whites can't enter that store, or Asians can't enter that store. We call that discrimination under the federal laws. There's also discrimination under the Virginia laws. And I think the same would be true with the First Amendment. You can't have an amendment that says you have the right to free speech, and just because Big Tech is not a government, they get away with that. No, I think they should be held accountable, and they will here in Virginia. It's not that we're testing something new, we're testing our laws, but freedom of speech is a constitutional mandate. It is a constitutional principle, just like the right to worship our God in our churches and our synagogues, the right to bear arms, the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, the whole gamut. We need an attorney general who's going to uphold the Constitution, all of it. We need someone who's going to look out for Virginians, all of them. And our current attorney general, I think, is just an absentee landlord. He was gone a long time ago as far as the Constitution was concerned.
Chuck, is that a Marine Corps flag I see behind you, sir?
Not only Marine Corps flag, there is a Marine Corps emblem here, but yes, it is a Marine Corps flag. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1970 at a time when people didn't go in the Marine Corps. People were, afraid. They decided not to do that. In fact, I tell some of my opponents who make all these bodacious statements about, oh, I will do this and I will do that and I will stand up. People will say anything, except enlist in the Marine Corps.
That is a fact. Semper Fi to you, Chuck. Chuck Smith, AG of Virginia, Lord willing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll be back. It's been a long day. It's been a long night. Had to watch the President of the United States feebly stumble his way through a press conference. You know what we need? We need some hot tub time.
People asking if we pay extra for the bear.
It's on its back just playing in the water. This is the cutest thing in the world, and it's mean as all get out, probably. Oh my gosh, it's on its back. That is hilarious, Jill. You've got to see this. Look, he's just chilling out.
was good.
He's like, man, this is great. This is the life. And he tore all that. He knocked the grill over. I'm gonna have to tell this guy that we didn't do this.
Oh, I got video last night.
Oh, so you saw him come in?
Yeah.
Is that hilarious or what?
Oh, hilarious.
It's just, look, he's just relaxing, chilling out.
Could I ask him if it's warm?
Have fun cleaning out that hot tub filter. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.